previous classes we have discussed about organism, their interaction with abiotic, biotic factors, all the things. Now today we will start with population. Population is a group of organisms which live in a particular geographical area. They share, interact and use the same resources. They compete for the same resources. Now due to that there are some interactions, and those interactions are of two types, that is interspecific and intraspecific. Intraspecific means the interaction which occurs among the same species, between the same species, and when that interaction occurs between different species, then it is known as interspecific interaction. Now there are four population attributes, that is birth rate, death rate, sex ratio and age distribution. Birth rate, that means the total number of birth during a particular time, in a unit time, how many births have been done, that is known as birth rate of that particular population in that particular locality, in that particular area at particular time. Death rate, the number of deaths which occur at that time. Then sex ratio, the ratio of the male and female of the population, that is sex ratio. Then age distribution, which population is present in which age group. Depending upon that, there are three types of age pyramid. When we write all these different types of, there are three types of individuals which are belonging to three categories, that is pre-reproductive in juvenile phase, then when they enter into the reproductive phase, then after reproductive phase, post-reproductive phase. So three phases are there, and depending upon the number of individual present in all these three phases, there are three types of population: expanding, declining and stable. In expanding population, number of individual present in pre-reproductive phase is more than the post-reproductive phase and reproductive phase. That means in future it will be expanding, increasing type of population. Next one is declining, in which the number of individual present in pre-reproductive phase is less than other these two. That means in future they will be undergoing decreasing of population. Then third one is stable, in which almost equal number of individuals present in all the three stages. So we can see this is known as the age pyramid, and there are three types of age pyramid, that is expanding, declining and stable, depending upon the age distribution of the individual in that particular area, particular locality.
This slide is showing the population pyramid. Depending upon the number of distribution of the population, that different age group people, there are three types of population pyramid, that is expansive or expanding, stationary or constrictive, that is declining. This one is declining and this is stable. So according to the definition, a population pyramid is a bar graph which will show the age and sex structure of a population. This information is very useful for the government for policy planning, and it is important for the prediction of the future, that in future the population will be expanding or declining type. There are three types of age group, that is at the bottom it is pre-reproductive, then this is reproductive and this is post-reproductive. So depending upon the different people present in different age group, the population pyramid will be there. If this is the pre-reproductive one, if their number is more, and such type of population will be known as the expanding. When the number of pre-reproductive individuals will be less, then it will be declining type of population, and if it is almost similar, same, then it will be stable. A stable population we can see in the developed countries, whereas expanding one in the developing countries. This is all about the population pyramid, the diagram, and here this blue color is showing the male population and this is showing the female population, pink one, and this vertical axis shows the population divided into 5-year age group. So these are the population pyramids which are helping in different aspects.
Now we'll discuss about population density. The number of individual present at given time in a particular area. That means at per unit time, what is the total number of population, that is known as population density, which is denoted by capital N. Now this population density depends upon four factors, that is natality, that is birth rate denoted by P, then mortality denoted by T, death rate, then immigration, that is the individual or the population coming inside, joining that particular population, that is known as immigration. They migrate from other place and come in that particular population, then it will be known as immigration denoted by capital I. And immigration, number of individuals are leaving that population, they are going out, that is known, and that is denoted by capital E. So these four factors are responsible for population density, change in population density. Now this N or population density at given time T can be written like that: NT plus 1, that is for 1 year, that is NT plus B plus I, that is birth rate, plus that is natality, plus I, that is immigration, minus death rate, that is mortality, minus immigration, that is E. So this will be denoted like that. Now when B plus I is greater than D plus E, then the population will be increasing. Population density will increase. If B plus I is less than D plus E, then the population density will decrease. So this formula is showing the change in the population density of that particular area. Now growth in population, we will study by two models. These models are exponential growth model and logistic growth model, one by one. We will study the growth of population by two growth models, that is exponential growth model and other one is logistic growth model. Exponential growth model, when the resources are unlimited, then the for like space, food, shelter, all the things, humidity, light, then such type of growth model is known as exponential growth model, which increase in geometrical manner. Whereas logistic growth model, when the resources are limited and for that particular organism which are living there, that is a particular population, when they are utilizing the same resources and but they are limited, then such type of growth model will be known as the logistic growth model. In nature, logistic growth model is more realistic because the resources will sooner or later become limited. So this is the realistic one. Now K stands for carrying capacity, which we will study here in logistic growth model. The carrying capacity can be defined as any habitat which support the maximum limit of organism of population. That limit is known as this carrying capacity, which is denoted by the letter symbol capital K. N is for density. R, small r is for intrinsic rate of natural increase, and then we'll discuss these two growth models. The exponential growth model, as we have discussed, that the growth model, when the resources are unlimited, then the growth level of the mode of growth of this population is known as exponential growth model, which occurs in geometrical way. Now when we will plot a graph against this population density n and time small t, then the graph will appear like this, that J-shaped curve will get. Now dn by dt is equal to Rn. Here d1 by dt is equal to b minus t, that is birth rate minus death rate, that is natality minus mortality, comma, then this is in under bracket and then population multiplied by this density. Let b minus d is r, that is small r, that is intrinsic rate of natural increase, then it will be written as dn by dt is equal to a small r n, and the curve will get, that is J-shaped curve. Now when we'll discuss about the realistic growth model. Here, when the resources are limited, and that will occur sooner or later, in that time only the survival of fittest will occur. That means the fit individual, fit population will survive. Now, when we'll plot a graph against the density and this time, then it will appear like S, or it is known as sigmoid curve. Now, this can be written as dn by dt is equal to Rn under bracket K, that is carrying capacity, minus density oblique carrying capacity. So we can see in the beginning there will be slow growth, it will occur rapid in between, and again it becomes stable because the resources are limited. So we can see here that exponential growth model and logistic growth model, out of which the logistic growth model is more realistic, which occur in nature.
This slide is showing the growth, population growth model and their graph. The population growth is of two types, that is exponential growth as well as logistic growth. When the resources are not limited, then the exponential growth will take place and the graph will come as J-shape structure, whereas in logistic growth the resources are in limited, then it will appear like S or sigmoid curve. So in the beginning it is less, then in mid becomes very rapid and then becomes stable. So, and this exponential growth can be written by dn by dt is equal to b minus d into n, where b minus d, when we are taking r, then it will be Rn. That means this n is the population size, then nt, that means population density after time t, then no means population density at time 0, that is in the beginning, and r is representing the intrinsic rate of natural increase, and e is showing the base of natural logarithm whose value is about 2.71. B, small b is denoting the birth rate and d for the death rate. This graph is showing both of these. This is J for this population growth exponential type, and this is the logistic growth. This K, capital K, is showing the carrying capacity. That means any habitat have the capacity to afford the maximum amount of organism or the population is known as capital K, or the carrying capacity. This logistic growth can be written like this here, dn by dt is equal to n, then K minus n divided by K, that is carrying capacity minus population density by K.
Now we will study about life history variation. Actually, there are different traits evolved in different organism, different population, and those are different types of constraints which are imposed by the biotic factor, abiotic factor of that habitat in which the individual live. So such type of constraints or the traits are evolved to adjust, to cope up with that particular environment. And for example, some of the organisms population breed many times in their life, like mammals, birds, etc., or they give rise to large sized offspring, like again the example is birds, mammals, etc. Some organisms population give rise to small sized organism offsprings, for example oysters, as well as some of the population which are breeding on single time in their whole lifetime, they breed single time, for example bamboo, etc. So these are some variations which occur, which evolved in the organism due to the constraints which are imposed by the biotic component, abiotic component in that particular habitat where the organism or the population live. Now the next topic will start, that is population interaction. That means what is the relationship, the type of relationship which exists between the two organisms, two population, how they interact with each other, whether they are benefiting each other, or one is getting benefit, other is in loss. So depending upon that, or they are no benefit, neither benefit nor this loss. So depending upon that, there are three types of relationship, and this interaction occurs of two types, that is intraspecific as well as interspecific. Intraspecific means the interaction occurs among the same species, that is intraspecific. And when the interaction occurs between two different type of species in that particular locality, particular habitat, then it is known as interspecific. Now, depending upon the type of relationship exists between two individuals, there are three types of interaction. The beneficial, that will be denoted by positive sign, then detrimental, denoted by the negative sign, that is the particular organism is loss, then neutral, neither benefit nor loss. Now, these are different types of interaction which exist in nature, depending upon the type of relationship. Species A, species B, and type of interaction. Here we can say mutualism is one type of first type of this interaction, in which both the species getting benefit from each other. For example, lichen, mycorrhizae, etc. In lichen, the association, the relationship exists between algae and fungi, where both are getting benefit from each other. Algae is preparing food for fungi, and fungi helps in absorbing and penetrating even the rocks to absorb water, mineral, etc. In this way, both are giving benefit to each other. That's why such type of association is known as beneficial type, or the positive type, that is mutualism. Other example is mycorrhiza, the same way which exists between the fungi as well as the higher plant root. Then fig tree and wasp, that means fig tree requires this wasp, a type of insect, for the pollination process, and in turn they are getting food from that particular plant, fig tree, and without wasp, fig tree will not undergo the process of pollination. Then the second type of interaction, that is parasitism and predation. In both type of interaction, one species is in benefit and other is in loss. The prey is in loss, where predator is in benefit. Parasitism also, the host is in loss and the parasite is in benefit. There are three type of parasitism, that is ectoparasite, in which the parasite living on the host body, outer surface of the body, and getting the food. Such type of parasite are known as ectoparasite. For example, lice in the head of human, then tick for dog. So these are ectoparasite. Then cuscuta plant, that is also parasite. Then endoparasite, in which the parasite lives inside the body of the host, like different types of worms living in our intestine. Then brood parasitism. Here, the one bird, that is cuckoo, is laying egg in the nest of crow. So that is known as brood parasitism, because both the eggs are resembling to each other. And after hatching of the egg, the baby will come out, that will be taken care of the crow, and then it will be thrown out. So in this way, in nature we can see different types of parasitism, that is ectoparasite, endoparasite, brood parasite, etc. When the parasitism is endoparasite, then their morphology and anatomy will be different features will be there, so that to get benefit of that from that particular host. For example, in cuscuta, Hostoria is there. So this Hostoria helps in penetrating or absorbing sucking the food material from that host plant in cuscuta. In the same way, in leech, their mouth part is like that, so that they can absorb the food material, suck the food material from the host body. In this way, there are different types of morphological and anatomical features, which are specialized features for the parasites. Now, the next type of this interaction is competition. In this type of interaction, both the organism is in loss because both of them are struggling or competing for the same resource, and that's why both are in loss. Then, for example, for light, for space, center, food, so all these things are required by the two or three different type of organism, and that's why that is known as in competition, in which both are in loss, that is detrimental. Then next type of interaction is commensalism, or that is in which one species is in benefit where other is neither loss or nor benefit. For example, orchid it is a type of epiphyte, and which grow on mango tree and other trees, and the mango tree or other trees are not in loss or not in benefit, but this orchid is getting sunlight from air. So in this way we can see the example is orchid or the epiphyte present on the mango. There are different types of fishes also. Small fishes are living on the big fish's body, and that is also example of commensalism. Then the last type of this interaction is amensalism, in which one organism is in loss whereas other is neutral. So we can see different types of interaction occurs in the habitat, population interaction, interspecific as well as intraspecific, and these are different types of relationship or the interaction we had discussed. So these are all about the population interaction.
In this slide, we can see different types of interaction which occurs between the different type of organism. Depending upon which type of interaction, is it positive or negative, they are of two types, and positive interactions include mutualism, commensalism, proto-cooperation, whereas negative interaction like amensalism, parasitism, predation, cannibalism, then competition. Now in mutualism, there are both the organism are getting benefit from each other, hence it is known as mutualism, and examples are lichen, mycorrhizae, etc. Commensalism, in which one species in getting benefit and other is neither getting benefit or harm. So in one is getting benefit and other have no impact, no effect, it is not benefited or harmed, like orchids present on the epiphyte on other plants, then lianas, etc. In negative interaction, predation means who is predated, who is the prey, and one is the predator. Now the predator is in benefit whereas the prey is in loss. So it is known as predation as a negative interaction. For example, Drosera, Nepenthes, etc. These are the plants which are insectivorous plants. Now next is parasitism, which is also a type of negative interaction in which one is getting benefit and other is harmed. For example, Cuscuta, then Duranta, Viscum, then other also like different types of worms, then leaves in the hair. Now next is competition. This is also a type of negative interaction in which both the species are getting harmed from each other. So it is negative sign is there both side, and like grassland species. Then amensalism. Amensalism is a type of interaction in which one of the member is getting harmed and other is neither harmed nor benefit. Then it is known as amensalism. For example, penicillium and staphylococcus bacteria. Here positive sign is denoting the benefit, which organism is getting benefit, and other negative for harmed, and this 0 means unaffected. So in this way we can see different types of interactions, biological interactions. This slide is showing two types of examples of two types of biological interaction. Predation, in which both the one organism is getting benefit and other is the harmed. For examples, heterotrophs. Then commensalism, that is one of the member or the species is in benefit and other is unaffected. then it is known as commensalism. For example, cattle ergets, tick, birds, etc. on the water buffalo. So here we can see these birds or insects are getting benefit here, but buffalo is unaffected. In this slide we can see the types of mutualism. Actually, mutualism is a type of interaction in which both the species are getting benefit from each other. Now there are two types of mutualism: facultative mutualism and obligate mutualism. In facultative mutualism, each species gaining benefit from each other, but if one is not still survive, that means if one is not alive, other can survive. That means it is not dependent for its survival on that particular species. Then it is known as facultative mutualism. Other is obligate mutualism, in which if one of the member is not present or not survive, then other one will not survive. So these cannot live without each other. We can see this is the example of facultative mutualism, that is service resource mutualism. This relationship between the organism and the plant, both of them are getting benefit. This honeybee getting pollen from the flower, and the flower gets pollen spread to other areas. So this is the example of facultative mutualism.